All right, guys, I hope you guys like the music. I'm ready to jump into the topic, okay? And I hope you guys are ready as well. So, we're going to talk about suicide today. That's what we're going to talk about. One statistic that I heard was that approximately 30,000, I don't know how accurate it is, but approximately 30,000 people a year commit suicide. That's a rough estimate of about one suicide a minute in the United States. That I don't know if that's an old statistic or new. I'm not sure, but that's enough. That's enough to bring awareness to it. That's enough to speak up and speak out against this thing. Now, when it comes to suicide, no one wakes up and says, "I want to kill myself," without having premeditated that thought over a period of time. It's a foothold in our life, a stronghold that was once a foothold. So when we talk about the battlefield of the mind, how does that stronghold become prevalent and alive and well and thriving in our life? Whether it's the stronghold of suicide, of pornography, of low self-esteem, whatever it is, that thing at one point in time wasn't there. How did it get there and become so strong? And so when I think about that, I think about how an army just advances step by step. They keep moving forward. They keep gaining ground, gaining ground until they have taken over the territory, having created now a stronghold. So letting the enemy in, whether it's just a foot, he takes a mile until he gains the ground that he wants to create a stronghold. Now, when we talk about suicide, when we talk about suicidal thoughts and all that stuff, that is a tricky subject, and sometimes we joke about it, sometimes we make light of it, but you know what? There's a lot of people who struggle with this thing, and in my past, I have struggled with it a lot growing up. And then having come to Christ, it seemed as though that thing just totally just dissipated, and I was good. But recently, it seems like God's like, okay, we're going to work on that area. I know that I waved my little magic wand and everything disappeared. Not everything, some stuff, right? But we're going to have to work on that, my daughter, because I love you. I don't want the enemy to gain that ground back, so I need to show you how to use the weapons of warfare that I've given you so that you can hold down that fort and not give the enemy a foothold and push them back. And so just struggling with that thing, I listened to an amazing sermon by Charles Stanley, and he talked about it. And the first thing he said was suicide. I'm talking about for the believer, okay? I'm not talking about someone who does not know God and follow God, okay? I'm talking specifically about the believer in Christ, okay? So when we're talking about suicide, it's a form of escape. Escaping whatever it is that's overwhelming, that's too much for you to bear. It's too hard, it's too difficult. And let me tell you something, like that thing is so real in a person's life. Sometimes it seems like something that was so small has gained so much distraction, and it's snowballed out of control to where we don't even know how to deal with it anymore. We don't even know, it just seems like Satan is pushing those buttons. How many guys know what I'm talking about? Satan's just pushing those buttons constantly, and you feel like you're going nuts because it's a constant attack of the enemy in your mind. The enemy's telling you all these things that you really don't have the truth to back it up, but it's assumptions that seem so real. It's a form of escape. And I get it. I get wanting to escape the reality of the situation that you seem you cannot fix, and no, you cannot. But with God, we can do all things. And I don't mean to sound cliche, but it's true. God doesn't give us more than we can bear. So when I think about the suicidal thoughts, when I think about just wanting to escape it all, I also think about, what am I not applying? What am I not putting to practice? What am I not doing that I know I should be? Am I having more of a pity party than attempting to walk in and stand in my victory? We have to bring some balance to it. We have to recognize our feelings, recognize what the attack of the enemy, what Satan's doing, right? And also what we aren't applying. This is a process. The stuff that we struggle with, it takes time to overcome. It takes time to push past. And there's some stuff where people just tell us, hey, you should just get over that. You should just be done with that. Why do you still struggle with that? Just do this. Just do that. Because it's easy for them. But everybody doesn't deal with the same thing the same way. We're all differently. So what may be a stronghold for me isn't a stronghold for you. And so when we even know people who struggle with those things, we have to have grace, and we have to walk in love and understanding of that person, that, you know what, this is their feelings are valid. When someone talks about that stuff, take it seriously. Don't just brush it under the table because you don't know what to say. Don't just brush it under the table because, you think that it'll be okay. Man, sometimes it's the little things that people say that in reality they are screaming out for help. On the inside, they're screaming. They are pounding the walls down for help. But through an individual's mouth, it comes out a whisper. Just a phrase, just a sentence that makes your light bulb go off and makes you think, did they just mean what I thought they meant? So instead of just being like, nah, I'm tripping, take it seriously. So for the individual that struggles with these thoughts, escaping reality is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. How do you know, Jessica, that my problem is temporary? How can you say that my problem is temporary? I've been going through this for years. How can you say that? You know what? I don't know. But I do know that God's word is true and that he shows up every time. I do know that the times in my life, man, and I see in other people's lives, the people who I mentor, I see where the areas where they struggle, I see the certain areas where they aren't applying what they should apply, reading the Bible, maybe praying in the Spirit, finding their happy place, whether it's let me get out and go for a walk instead of wallowing in this, let me not drink, whatever it is, I see that people aren't applying it. And so I'm just giving I'm giving you what I have learned. That's it. I'm not in your shoes. I'm only in my own, and this is how I deal with things. And that escape, that escape from right now may feel so good. The thought of it may just seem really appealing, but there's so much more to it. Suicide is an expression of unbelief. God, you really can't do it. God, I'm not sure if you can do it. I'm not sure if you could show up. I'm not sure if you're going to come through. I'm not sure if you're going to make the depression leave. I'm not sure if you're going to make the loneliness leave. I'm not sure if you're going to do what you promised. I'm not even sure if what I thought you promised was you. I'm actually questioning everything because of the stuff that's going on right now. And you know what? I'm really not sure of anything. And so it's an expression of unbelief in God. It's okay. We just have to realize what's going on. We have to acknowledge it. It's saying, God, I'm not sure if you are really good at being God. Suicide says that God is not loving and faithful. It says that God is not loving and faithful. And to the person who is contemplating suicide, people think, well, yeah, he's not loving. He's not faithful. I'm here. I've been here. I've been crying out. And you're letting me just just bask in this worst situation, the worst circumstances ever. So no. But you know what? He is. Think back to the things that he's done. You know what? Forget that. Think back to the things that he did that you swore he couldn't have done. Or that thing that he did and you were like, man, that wasn't even a big, earnest, pleading prayer. I just whispered that thing and he heard me and he gave me that desire of my heart no matter how small it is. So this thing is bigger than that. He has to have heard me. He has to be loving. He has to be faithful. Suicide. It's an expression of self-hatred. That's real talk. What is it you hate about yourself? I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not adequate enough. I'm not qualified. I can't do it. I hate that I feel this way. I hate that I think this way. I hate that I can't get it together. That self-hatred, that overwhelming, bubbling up, festering wound of self-hatred will come out in the form of suicidal thoughts sometimes, will come out in the form of just totally wanting to give up. That self-hatred is definitely a hallmark for an individual who wants to commit suicide. Sometimes we're just so sick of our own stuff. I'm sick and tired of just being suicidal. I'm sick and tired of having suicidal thoughts. When can I get it together? You know what? I make myself sick. That's what a lot of times we think. So suicide is an expression of self-hatred. And last but not least, suicide usurps the plan of God for your life. You have a calling, you have a destiny. Man, I know that sounds so cliche. You're supposed to say that everyone has a plan, everyone has a destiny, everyone has a calling, everyone has a purpose. But it doesn't seem true, right? But no matter what your thing is that God has called you to, he's called you to something. You aren't here by accident. You aren't here just to be here. You aren't here just to take up space and do nothing. Whether it is to minister to, it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be in the fivefold ministry. But God has called you to do something, and taking that way out, taking that quick fix, that way out, is just usurping the plan that God has for you. And not only you, but the people that he's giving or given to you. Who follows you? Who looks up to you? Who is inspired by your testimony? Who looks to you for advice? Who lights up when you walk in the room? Who enjoys hanging out with you? Besides that, you don't know who God has set up along the path in the future to do just those very things, because guess what? Someone else is waiting to hear your testimony next week or next month or next year, or in the next 20 years. Someone is waiting for you to put a smile on their face that stops them from committing suicide. Someone is waiting for you to say this one sentence that you think was nothing, but it spoke volumes to them and changed the trajectory of their life, of their path. For the person that struggles with this, to the person who is just saying, you know what, I'm done. I am tired. I want to give up. This isn't working. This whole Jesus thing isn't working. This whole Christianity thing isn't working. I am tired of fighting. I'm tired of running. I feel like all I am doing is running from the enemy. I can't stand still to bask in this so-called glory from God, because all I'm doing is being hunted and running from an enemy that seems to be advancing on me just more and more day by day. Don't give up. Don't give up. Satan is trying to wrap you in a cloak of despair. He is trying to wrap you in a cloak of hopelessness. He's saying, if I could get her, if I could get him to feel lonely, if I could get them to feel unworthy, if I could get them to think that people don't like them, if I could get them to think that they're doing a horrible job, if he can get you to think the way he wants you to think, it's so easy for you not to even pick up the spiritual weapons that God has given to you, because you feel defeated before you even start. God says, pick up the weapons of warfare that I've given you. Put on that shield of faith. Put on the helmet of salvation, because when you got saved, that's it. Keep your mind secure in me, because you are saved. Not because of anything that you've done, but because of what I've chosen to do for you, because I called you, because I have a plan and a purpose for you. So put on that helmet of salvation. It keeps your mind covered. It keeps your head covered, because one blow to the head can cause destruction. But if you keep this helmet on, then you will know that I got your back, that I will never leave you or forsake you, that I am going nowhere. Put on that breastplate of righteousness. Know that you are in right standing with me, because I love you. Again, nothing because of what you've done, but because I have done for you. You are in right standing. You're good. You are golden. It's not about you being perfect. Know that you are righteous, in right standing with me, because you received my son. You accepted the atonement needed for you, for that gap that needed to be bridged between me and you. It's now secure. You're good to go. Come on, guys. It's difficult. I get it. It's hard. I know. If you can't think about anyone else but yourself, because you're that low right now, because you're feeling that defeated and you're done, know that I love you. I don't know you, but you're my brother and you're my sister. Man, I wish you could just hear my heart right now. Like, I genuinely love you. I don't have to know you. I don't have to see your face. I don't have to hear your voice. But your heart pitter-patters with mine, because I get it. I get it. And I am rooting for you. I pray right now that you just say, you know what? I'm not going to do it today. I'm just going to give God another day. I'm going to pick up that Bible. I'm going to call someone who will pray for me, someone who can encourage me. And you know what? If you don't know anyone, contact me. I am here for you. I do this all the time. Why? Because God's called me to do it, and I love it. And I love to help and encourage people any way that I can. And if you think no one cares about you, I do. I need you to live. I need you to stand strong. I need you to live and fight another day. I need you. Don't give up. Don't tap out. Oh, God loves you. And I do too. All right, guys. All I see. I love you. I'm thinking about you. Some more good music.